Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another very interesting topic at the Delphi Economic Forum. We'll be discussing and we'll be evaluating the evaluation of the Greek economy. And with us, we have one of the people who are in the position to give us the most thoughtful insights. I'm honored and delighted to be talking with Mr. Marko Mrsnik, who is from Standard & Poor's, and he's the Senior Director of EMEA Sovereigns and International Public Finance. And for the next 10 minutes, we'll be discussing the outlook for Greece. Mr. Mrsnik, an honor to be chatting with you. And I'm starting right off the bat with the question that is more or less on everyone's mind in Greece. S&P recently upgraded our country's economy and the outlook for Greece. How possible would another upgrade be in the coming months? And if so, what are the milestones that Greece must achieve in order for this to happen?
Well, I'm definitely, first of all, grateful to organizers of this conference for the invitation. What I can say is that the positive outlook indicates that there is at least 1 in 3 probability that we could raise our ratings on Greece within the next 12 to 18 months. This could happen, for example, if economic recovery is stronger than what we currently believe, or if it's stronger than what we observe in peer countries. Also, an upgrade could hinge on a material reduction in budget deficit, coupled with a substantial drop in non-performing loans in the banking system.
So if those elements come into play, you believe that this is a solid, a valid possibility, and not so much further down the line, right?
Well, with respect to the investment grade, certainly there's still a gap of 2 notches. While I can't specify the time horizon beyond the next potential rating action or speculate about it, what I can discuss is indeed the focus of further rating improvements. And beyond what I have just mentioned with respect to the next potential upgrade, a continuous effort in structural reforms, together with a strong economic rebound, would support further improvements in creditworthiness. And crucially, I think what we have in mind here is also the impact on the reduction in what is currently still very large government debt to GDP ratio. Certainly, what we heard in the previous sessions is something that is very much appreciated and incorporated in our current rating, which is a very, very favorable debt profile of Greece, characterized by despite the benefits of this debt profile, high external and high government debt levels suggest vulnerability.
We seem to have some problems with the connection, but Mr. Mason, can you?
So yeah, I can come back a bit. So what I was saying is that the debt profile in Greece is definitely a very favorable one with respect.
Well, the connection seems to be lagging a bit, so we'll hopefully manage to get back on track. Mr. Mrsnik?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we were talking about the debt profile.
Okay, yeah, so that's very favorable. However, what I wanted to say is that with respect to external and government debt vulnerabilities, these are still something that could benefit that could benefit from a reduction in order to favor the creditworthiness.
Understanding is that this is a possibility, but there are milestones that must be met, and the debt to GDP ratio is one of the major ones.
I think the focus is really on growth and further progress in structural reforms.
And you mentioned growth. What is the impact of the EU and resilience funds for Greece? How do you believe that this can affect growth, and how does it affect your ratings?
Well, we know that Greece will benefit substantially from the EU funds. Under the agreement, Greece is set to receive about 11
we seem to continue having problems. We were at about 11. We were at 11.
Yeah, and it's eligible for loans of up to 6.7% of GDP, without considering other loans, other facilities, and also if you consider that Greece will be receiving through the EU's multi-annual financial framework almost 23% of GDP over the next 6 years. This is really a huge amount of funds. So we believe that if used efficiently, these funds could fast-track the structural improvements in the economy and contribute to stronger growth performance in the coming horizon. And in fact, we recently made a simulation on the impact of the Recovery and Resilience Fund grants, which suggest that these could elevate Greek GDP by between 8 and 18% over the next 6 years.
That's really a huge amount. I mean, if we go to the upper end of the spectrum, 18% is game-changing. So I understand that could be a catalyst for all the previous discussion we had regarding the possible improvement of Greece and the reach of investment grade. So that could be a major catalyst, right?
That's correct. I mean, we are very constructive on Greece's chances to benefit from these funds. And I would only add that these estimates, depending on the scenario, 8 to 18% of growth, addition to GDP, do not include the potential benefits from structural reforms. So there is additional upside there if these funds are indeed deployed efficiently in order to support the economy.
And that can definitely change the debt to GDP ratio, given that the GDP increases by 18 or even more percent if the structural reform comes into play. Then we're talking about a completely new environment during the next few years, as you mentioned, if the scenario comes into place. So what are the challenges that the Greek economy must overcome in order to be 100% clear of the economic and COVID crisis? I understand structural reforms are between them, but what is the roadmap ahead, and what are the bumps that Greece must avoid or must tackle in order to come out clearly?
Well, I think that the first challenge is clearly the health crisis, but that's valid for all the countries in the world these days. Then you see every crisis is a bit different, but what they all have in common is that they exacerbate the pre-existing vulnerabilities. So unemployment has gone up, budget deficits have widened massively. Also, of course, to support the productive capacity of the economy. The government debt has gone up, NPLs as well. So in order to address these challenges, it is crucial, again, to see a strong economic rebound in the coming years. And I think that the EU grants are definitely a key in this whole situation. So absorption of these large amounts in a relatively short period of time could be a challenge. But on the positive side, what we observe is that compared to the EU structural funds, co-financing element is not present here, which suggests that the funds could be deployed more easily. And in addition, specifically with respect to Greece, we know that Greece's absorption rate of the funds made available through the previous multi-annual financial framework, that absorption rate has been the highest in the EU. So that really bodes well for the Greek capacity to absorb those funds. So continuation of structural reforms, for example, improving business environment, digitalization, removing undue administrative burden should boost economic recovery, everything that really has to do with improving productivity. And I think that Greece is well positioned to continue on its path. After all, its economy has already been significantly restructured. It has regained competitiveness that had been lost.
Well, and on this very positive note, I'd like to thank Mr. Mrsnik. I'll keep the 18% growth on GDP, and hopefully this will come into play during the next few years. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Mrsnik.
Thank you.